All right, I made a previous video that was 37 minutes long. So for your sake, I'm gonna make another one, but I'm gonna have to go quick because of all the slides that I got. So first, using Spider, I use a Twitter API to get Amazon and coronavirus. So this is the process I use to be able to pull the data, be able to get it 24,000 things of data, be able to test it right there. Business understanding what the project scope is. Amazon's recent come on fire from even 60 Minutes for the way they've been treating their workers and the outbreaks they've had at their plants and just the way they've been handling the whole thing. So how has this affected their brand and how is the virus doing currently? And so how can Amazon look at the virus and Twitter analytics and also their own brand and see how they can improve? So it's kind of summarizing what I've said. This outcome can help better their brand and deal with damage control. And they can also try and gain favorable sentiment from tweeters. So collection is how about the process of collecting the data. I removed all the Twitter messages in case it got too much, and I did have a lot of data points. So now we're displaying the screen names and tweets. You can process tweets in data frame. So phase JSON to CSV automatically. This takes all the data from the Twitter that we got from the API and makes it so we can put it in a data frame and columns and be able to actually look at it and use it and see it more clearly. So I wanted to do a few things on it just because I had it in data frame. Kind of wanted to see the follower count, maybe between follower count and friends list to kind of get a better idea of what's going on there. I thought it was interesting. Did a little correlation analysis on it as well. So friend count, I thought it was interesting that around 5,000 friends for some of these top ones was the most common per friend count. And then also zero with zero friends, which is sad, but was also very common. So I was wondering if these could possibly be bots in the system as well because it came up so much and it was such a weird number. Kind of rehashing what I said. So then friends count. So I was looking at the top ones, and the top friends count was digital trends. They had large number of followers and also the largest number of friends. So kind of going into what friends are. This is how Twitter deems somebody a friend. It's basically how you interact with their tweets, retweets, if you're looking at their ingoing and outgoing tweets, messages, liking, all that stuff goes into if they deem you a friend or not. So we're able to see the digital trends is a very important user in this network just by looking at that, kind of a weird metric. He's got a lot of people that interact with his stuff. So if you were Amazon, you paid for him to promote their brand to you, all of his users are going to be able to look at, interact, and even put out more stuff. So that's a very viable person in the network. Now looking by follower count, all these news organizations, and CNN had the highest with 47 million, were very important and had the most followers. And so the most followers, the more people you can get out in your network, put out your stuff, try and build your brand. So when they're putting out a thing on CBS about 60 Minutes and how poorly they've done with the outbreak and the walkouts at their plants, that's a huge viewership that's now looking at your brand in a negative light. This is a correlation, kind of not correlation map, but just kind of putting followers and friends and kind of getting a visual of how that looks. So also kind of saying some of those news affiliations don't have very much friends, but they have tons of followers. So 24,000 tweets in the data set. So now cleaning and processing. I'll go quickly through that. Getting the hashtags. Original tweets and retweets, 6,333 original tweets. So the majority in this data set are retweets, but there's still a large number that are original tweets. So now we want to remove URLs from this data set. Remove username. We're trying to just clean it up completely, make it look nice. So that was kind of the finished product right there. So that'll help us further down the project when we actually take data. So descriptive analytics. So retweets only, large majority of the data set. So time series. The Twitter uses universal time. So what we need to do is we need to be able to convert that to US Central Time Zone so we're able to actually understand what's going on. So you're able to, even if you had more time, you're able to do year, month, week, or day. So all this was taken the same week, all this was taken the same day. I was only able to get 10 minutes worth because I was almost running up to full capacity by the time I did that. But if your large company had more access and you're able to pull large amounts of data, you could track in real time this coronavirus and where it's breaking out based on tweets and seeing hot zones and all that just from Twitter, which I think is really kind of interesting. So the applications for Amazon and using this are huge. This is just a little snippet of a 10-minute day on what was going on. And so you're able to track to see when was the most. So what was the high point? And that was the high point for us for this. It got low, dramatic kind of fall here, probably because I had to cut it off in that last minute because I was running full on memory. So this is a visual of that. So users in the data set. Notice how many original users are in the data set, 19,000. And so here's the most active tweeters. 51 tweets is an insane amount for a 10-minute snippet time zone. That's probably more tweets than I do in a year. But here's a visual on just how many tweets. So, I mean, you could deem this person as being someone you want to promote your brand well, but how influential actually are they? So next, this is a little geolocation. This can come up bigger later on. 8,447 people do share their geographic information to some degree. Not all of them are the same degree. Some could just be country, city, etc. So that's going to come up later. So the majority of people do not. Most visible users. So these are the amount of people mentioned in a single tweet. So the most visible users, real Donald Trump was the most. He's also POTUS. So it's kind of expected to be the most with kind of a national crisis like this. But also Joe Biden, the political incumbent, is also coming in with a large number, in the White House as well. So this is a very political issue. And some of the most powerful people, I guess, like the president, show up a lot in it. So this is kind of visually showing that data, but got a little cut off. So where do the people live? We talked about it a little bit. These are just pulling a little bit of the locations. We're able to see kind of what we're going to be able to do. So I'm going to see the place names, the values of like how many people are in a certain area. What was the highest number of people in a certain area? And Pennsylvania was a hotspot for people tweeting during this time period. And then also, that we're sharing their location, I should say. But these were the top places that we were able to see. And if we had more data, and more information in a larger time period, this could be extremely useful and advantageous for Amazon. So you're able to kind of get a better idea of where to look into. So this is kind of information you can see: city, admin, country. Those are some of the information they can get from Twitter. So URL metrics. Trying to extract URL and trying to see. So you're able to click on these, but to make it easier so you see the whole link, we got to say these URLs, and then we want to see the top URLs. So when I'm looking at the top URLs, a lot like real Donald Trump's on here. When I looked, a lot of these were news articles, and a lot of them, I mean, were kind of fake news. I read one of his political slandering on a political person. It was Governor Cuomo. And it just didn't really have too much basis to it, and I thought it was just interesting how much of that is still out there. So now this is kind of the things we're trying to look at screen names here and friend counts to kind of give you a better visual of friends and the followers that people have. So we see that again, these are the top 10. These are all news organizations. So I think that's important to really drive home, is how much influence and how many followers those people have. So content analytics, using my own functions, created them. You're able to try and take stuff from original tweets, sentiment, and be able to analyze it. So these were the words that came up the most in those tweets, top 10. So again, I used Spider, so it made sense that those were the top 2 ones. So I did a visual of it, and it got cut off by Rise, but you're able to see that coronavirus and Amazon were the top ones, but also Trump was a notable top thing that showed up. Sorry, I'm going fast. I ran way over time in the first one. So now I want to look at just the Amazon, or just coronavirus. This was wrong. Just the coronavirus tweets. 1,000 about them. And I want to look at just Amazon, and it was 1,200 about them. And I want to look at both of them combined, and it was 5 tweets. I had both of those words in them. And I wanted to look at more for each one. What words showed up when we were just talking about the coronavirus? And just talking about the coronavirus, these were the words that came up the most. So Trump came up quite a bit. But also the virus did too, but it makes sense. So then looking at just Amazon Prime came up, gift, homes, all these popular terms came up when it came to Amazon, which is good for Amazon. I mean, at least it's not more negative sentiment towards them. So when it was just Amazon and the virus put together in some tweets, these were ones came out the most. Worker, the worker in the cases at their plants and the climate emergency in Amazon. So I thought that was interesting. So that's another visual of that. So hashtag analytics. This is when I'm going to use Jiffy later on here. So this is saving the hashtags and then finding out the co-hashtags. I'm getting the most popular, just all the hashtags together here. And I had a visual, but got cut off. So co-hashtags. These are hashtags that, same tweet that go together, that come up the most. So when someone hashtags, they're hashtagging that too. So some people hashtagged Obamagate twice. They're very passionate about that. And then coronavirus. And that was some speculation and blame on the past administration. But coronavirus and COVID-19 came a lot. China and COVID came a lot. And there's been a lot of blame put on China and then Amazon. So some of these characters were able to get through even through my filters, which I thought was interesting. So I was wondering if that's because there was English in some of those tweets. So this is supposed to be visual of the top co-hashtags, but we do have visuals in here one night later on here. So I used Vader as a sentiment analysis, and we found that 1,553 were positive, 1,430 were negative, and 3,350 were neutral. This could be, you could see this as polarizing in a way. I mean, a lot of neutral, but there are about even amount of positive and negative tweeters on these subjects. And so I just pulled 5 negative tweets to get a better idea of what's going on. A lot of it was pointed at the president and the current administration. So this is a very political issue. And then positive, I found some that were promotional things when I was looking through some of them. So sometimes people just hashtag something that's trending in order to get their tweet looked at more. So topic modeling, data processing here, looking at original tweets. We did topic models to see which words would come up. It's like predicting the probability of words coming up in tweets and what the topics are in those tweets. So looking at the probability of these topics being in tweets, and it has a correlation for each one, but this kind of gives you a better idea. So health, Amazon, pandemic, testing, these are going to be up. So if you saw like Amazon, bad, workers, negative things, it would be bad, but we're not seeing that as much, probably because coronavirus is a part of it. But you're able to kind of see it also gets political, like White House, new Donald Trump lockdown news, coronavirus. So it all kind of is pretty interesting how the topic model works. So word cloud, made a word cloud of the top words from our topic model. And then I want to see how this worked on a 60 Minutes news article that I talked about earlier. And I wanted to see what the kind of, how it could predict and what the topic was about. And those are how it turned out. So I gotta keep going quick. I'm taking up too much time. So now we're looking at mentions. And so I'll just get to the fun part here. I went into Jiffy and I did this mentions and did all the modality, degrees, closeness, all that stuff. And I got this pretty cool model. And I'm going to talk more about it further along here. But co-hashtag modeling. Same thing with this. We kind of did in the last homework. Co-hashtags. And this was an easier data set to work with. And you can kind of get better results Again, it's getting cut off, but I was able to go in and really kind of see how it was better connected and which ones were important to the network as well, how they're related to each other. I thought it was kind of funny. COVID and coronavirus and Amazon were really high, but golf and comedy, the fourth and fifth most mentions respectively in the data set when it came to betweenness centrality. I thought that was just kind of strange. So the time frame, just to go over stuff again, this was taken within a 10-minute time frame. If you're able to do this on a larger scale, this could become a lot more useful. You could do it days, weeks, year, if you had the kind of processing power. So I think it's important that you go after people that have a high amount of friends and also followers that can have a large amount of influence because of how much their friends interact with their tweets. And so paying for shout outs or promotions or targeting those people and then having positive sentiment from them I think, could be very valuable. And you also want to be in good favor with the people that have the most followers. I mean, these news organizations, whatever they say, regardless of how you view the tweets, they're going to have pull and people are going to read them and it's going to have an effect on your brand and image. So being in good sentiment with them, make them cover a news story of you donating money or time or the new things you're doing. You could almost see Amazon is doing damage control of doing the 60-minute interview. I mean, that could be seen as that because they're having walkouts and all that stuff. So knowing what people in the network have a lot of influence is important. And then also you could apply it to the areas, different areas that it's coming up, these subjects come up the most. Like if there was a plant in one of these areas and you saw that all these were coming from a different area, you need to do damage control and make those people happy at that plant before maybe it spreads to other people in the network. These are the most visible used in the data set. So these people come up the most and are most visible. And the most popular URLs were fake news articles. Just want to mention that. And these are the most popular 10 words. So when you're looking at these subjects, it's important to know which words are being associated with the subject as well. Go back about the sentiment, positive and neutral. And these were the probabilities of tweets within the 6 different topic models. And when it came to mentions, I'll go over this pretty quick. The highest betweenness score was 858 with these usernames. The second highest was this, but there was a steep drop off. So this person had a very high betweenness score. Mission 2020 had an eccentricity score of 5, which was the highest. Real Donald Trump had the highest degree score of 673. He is the President of the United States. This shows how important this is to integral the system when it comes to these subjects. He also has the highest weighted score of 747, which was almost double the next person. And then co-hashtag. Shield Hero had the highest score of 11. All data points had lower than 10. So he had the highest out of a lot of data sets. So I thought that was important. The data points, they're made of 10. A lot of them were for promotions of ebooks and sweepstakes, which I thought was interesting. And then closeness centrality, Dylan Roof with the highest score of 0.336. That score was never very high for anybody. And then common degrees of scores were 5, and common phrases like basketball. And they also talk about Chinese, Asian, and Trump. So it's interesting how these had some of the highest degrees of common phrases. So in conclusion, I'll go quick. I've covered a lot of this. Amazon can get a lot from this. With their kind of scope and their amount of data that they can process and use, it's endless the amount of stuff that they can figure out and work with in order to improve their brand image. And there's a lot of value they can gain by using Twitter analytics and using API in order to take advantage of that. So thank you. Bye, Kyle Ball.